This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with winemaker Emmanuel Riffaud, who is joining us all the way from Chile. How are you today, sir?
Yes, fine, Jamie.
We are going to be tasting the Escudo Rojo Reserva Carménère. We've been speaking about Carménère previously, but for those people who didn't hear that earlier, tell me a little about your thoughts on Carménère.
You know, Carménère, it's for me magical grapes variety, because when I arrived in Chile, I didn't have the experience of this pure Carménère, because when you are in Bordeaux, the Carménère is really with few percentage, and you have difficulties to have like this level of maturity in Bordeaux, because you know, when we are harvesting right now this week, the last Carménère of the 21 vintage, and we are close to mid-May, so that means mid-November in the North Hemisphere. So that means, just imagine waiting for mid-November in Bordeaux to wait for the Carménère. It's impossible in terms of climate. So here we have another characteristic of Carménère, and I discovered this Carménère, and especially from Colchagua, where it's coming from this Reserva Escudo Rojo range. And I was amazed when the first time I arrived and to went in this, you know, in these vineyards. And I remember last week I was also in this vineyard of Colchagua, and when you are working with all these colors of the autumn colors with some yellow and red colors of the leaves, because the colors are a little bit more red with Carménère, because you have much more pigment, and the pigment is the polarizing, this green molecule you have in the Carménère. And when you are here and you test the berries for the maturity, you feel the taste of some very black, some blackberry, for example, marmalade with some spices and pepper, black pepper. And so you are here, you're like, wow, it's like amazing tasting sensation. So that's what I really like Carménère. And it's also because it's very, in my opinion, difficult grape variety, because Carménère doesn't like hydric stress. I mean, if you compare to Cabernet Sauvignon, you are here in Mapu with the best terroir, because it's very alluvial and very stressful soils. But in the Colchagua, you need to have a good clay composition to keep humidity in the soil. But in the air, the Carménère likes also hot and dry conditions. So it's very complicated to reach the best terroir for the Carménère. And then to have also the best maturity for Carménère, you need to be in the vineyard to test and to have some feelings about the tasting of the grapes, and say, okay, this is the right moment to avoid this green aspect, but also to have the best compromise in terms of freshness and acidity. Because if you wait too much, just imagine we are in mid-May, so obviously you have a lot of sugar and lower acidity. So that means the possibilities to have like an overripe wine and heavy wine, I qualify, that means too much sugar, that means too much alcohol, too much concentration, and then you drink half of the wine and you're fed up of the wine. So yes, this is completely we don't want to do, and that's why we are trying to have the best balance between freshness, elegancy, and also ripeness in terms of polyphenolic maturity.
I know that people always ask the question, when all of these cuttings were being transferred from Bordeaux to South America, to Chile here, when there was such a small amount of Carménère in Bordeaux, why did Carménère rise to prevalence to such a degree in Chile?
I mean, as I said, because of the maturity, it's quite difficult to have obviously 100% Carménère in Bordeaux.
Yes, yes.
In terms of climate. Maybe in a few years we are going to say something different, but and in Chile, I think when the Carménère was used in the 80s, it was like not the real Carménère. They call it like the Chilean Merlot, because yes, the Carménère and the Merlot was mixed in the same parcels. And so that when they harvested the Merlot, they were also harvested the Carménère. So that means just imagine you have like a mix between the first variety you are going to harvest and the last variety you are going to harvest. So obviously the Merlot was quite well in terms of maturity, but the Carménère was too green. So it was just awful. And they had too much oak to cover this greenness. And it was like, no, it's not so good.
Yes. Yeah,
and when the French ampelograph came in Chile and in the 80s and say, oh, but guys, this is not Merlot, this is a Carménère. And the guy said, no, no, it's a Chilean Merlot, it's not really a Merlot. And say, no, 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 it's Carménère. And then obviously they started to separate and they say, wow, this is a great grape and with really characteristic taste you have in Carménère, different from the other grape variety, and say, wow. And they started to cultivate this Carménère. And now that's why we have some beautiful Carménère. And Chile say, okay, we have our flagship grape variety, which is Cabernet Sauvignon. But behind, or just next to, we have Carménère. In my opinion, Chile should communicate more about Carménère than Cabernet. Because it's, in my opinion, it's the only country you have here in the world to show this so beautiful Carménère we have here in Chile.
Now, we tasted the Mapu Carménère earlier. What differentiates this wine, the Escudo Rojo, from the Mapu?
You know, the main difference is obviously the valley, because the Mapu is coming from the Maule Valley, our estate of Villavicencio, and this is coming from another stage of Colchagua. So it's two different valleys. The soil is different, the climate is different. So, and then the process and the style of the wine is different. In the Mapu, we are just looking for more fruity expression, enjoyable wine, and like I would say, like easy drinking, funny wines. And with Escudo, we are much looking for more complexity, a little bit more concentration, maybe less fresh fruit, but much more complexity in terms of fruit, in terms of nose. That's what we have here in the nose, because you have a lot of black fruits, but mingling with a lot of spice, a lot of pepper.
Yes.
The nose of the Cabernet, of this Carménère, of Escudo, is deeper, in my opinion. You have several levels. So that means with oxygen, the wine is going to give you more and more complexity. And it's also dependent on the pairing you want to do. If you want like an aperitif or if you want to mix with some food, the choice should be different with Mapu and Escudo. And for Escudo, I really like the style you have in terms of the touch of the tannin. I say touch because you have the sensation of the tannin, the soft tannin you have in this Escudo, and in this one you have more fresh tannin, I would say.
And is there a difference in the oak treatment that these two wines see?
Yes, because for Escudo Carménère, we are using much more oak than the Mapu. It's, for example, in this 19 vintage, we were using 100% obviously with French barrels, and 25 to 30% of new oak, and then 1 and 2 years old with medium plus toast. In this Mapu, it was only 10% of new oak,
right?
And so that's why we say, and we use obviously much like a 2, 3, and 4 years barrels age. So that means we have a little bit more impact of the oak in this wine. This gives also more complexity at the end. You have like a regalist notes, some also balsamic notes in this wine, which is very interesting. That I said, you know, it gives a little bit more complexity, a little bit more concentration. You have more density in this wine, and also the oak is helping because we are with maybe 1 or 2 weeks more in terms of maturity in this Colchagua Carménère. So that means the oak is helping also to have like a support for the wine. So it's very interesting. In my opinion, the combination is pretty interesting. It's very young wine because it's the 19 vintage. And I mean, this wine is going to show, and after months, really this all potential.
I was about to ask you, in your experience in Chile, how does this level of Carménère age?
Usually, I would say like 5 years without any problem. And it depends on what you are looking for in terms of style, in terms of
Yes.
aromatic characteristic. Obviously, after more years you are waiting for this wine in bottle, the style and the evolution of the aromatic of this wine is going to be more, I mean, like not so powerful in terms of notes, but much more refined complexity. So depending on what you want. In my opinion, after 3 years, it's really beautiful wines. And then obviously the Carménère, you have a little bit less aging potential than Cabernet because of the acidity level. You have less acidity in Carménère than in Cabernet Sauvignon.
I have to ask you, when the fruit begins to drop back a little and it becomes a more complex wine, does the pyrazine level still stay the same, or does that dissipate somewhat also and become a bit more integrated into both the vanillins from the oak and the fruit profile?
No, you obviously have more integration. Here, I would say it's like a very, just the first bottles we are going to send from our winery. So that means, obviously, after 6 months, 1 year, the wine is becoming much more integrated and you feel something completely different. So that's why when you say if you buy some bottles, it's very interesting to buy if you have the possibilities to keep 1, 2, 3 bottles and to keep some bottles for maybe 6 months or 1 year more. And then the evolution is very interesting because the same wine after 6 months, the wine is still living in bottle. So that's the point. It's very interesting because see, when you hedge it and then you taste after a few months, you have another style of wine. Obviously the taste and the characteristic of the wine is still the same, but the evolution is giving you all the characteristics. So that's the magical thing we have in the wine tasting.
This is obviously a much more gastronomic Carménère. In your experience as a winemaker, having done so many wine dinners, probably not for some time, but over the years, what have you had the most success pairing a Carménère like this with?
Oh, I like pairing with obviously with some meat. It's very interesting with some lamb, with some obviously like a T-bone steak barbecue. With I like we have it in Chile. It's like some spicy sausage. So it's pretty nice. You can mix, and I discovered not last year, but 2 years ago, mixing with some also spicy Chinese food. It's really fantastic. It's really fantastic because, and then I recommend also to chill a little bit the wine. I mean, like 16 degrees, it's okay. Not 18, 20, 16 is very perfect temperature because the temperature is going to increase a little bit on your table and on your glass. So to serve at 16 degrees, it's perfect temperature because then you have really the freshness of this wine, and then mixing with or pairing with some really spicy, I mean, like Indian food or Chinese food. It's really fantastic because you have less taste in terms of spice and more fruity expression. So that means, and if you want also to have a better integration when the wine is a little bit too young, as we are tasting now, you just have to decant it. So just to put with some oxygen, and the oxygen is helping like to accelerate, obviously, sometimes, and giving you the evolution of the wine. So after a quick decantation, you have also another expression of this wine. So that's why, depending on what you are looking for and what you like.
Thank you for showing us around your Escudo Rojo Reserva Carménère.